Hello, I wanted to come in here and chime in a bit about leadership talk. And I just came across this point in the scripture. Well, actually, remembered about something in scripture, and it's found in Exodus chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. Now, well, actually 11 through 14, and it says like this: One day after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way, and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day he went out and saw two Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?" The man said, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought, "What I did must have become known." So I thought about this because about tying it in with leadership. Of course, if you don't know this, but Moses was actually called by God to be a leader and to lead the people of Israel, the descendants of Abraham, out of the land of Egypt, where they have been slaves to the Pharaoh. They were compelled to do work by building some of the pyramids that were in Egypt. But Moses had been selected by God to become a leader, but he wasn't ready yet. And we see him here being corrected by someone because he was not modeling the way that a leader should model with his example. And he was called out. He was saying, "Hey, you're not living what you're preaching." And one of the concepts that the famous and renowned author John Maxwell says about leadership, or about the five principles of leadership. The first one is that work on yourself before you work on others. So in this story, we see that Moses had not worked on himself, and he was trying to work on others before he did that. We see him killing somebody, murdering someone who was hurting someone else, right? And first of all, he was uh, leading. He was a poor leader. He was leading very poorly and not leading the way that God intended for him to lead. And then we see him trying to uh, um, um, impose on others what he wasn't living out, and he was called out on it. So, if you have been called to be a leader in any area of life, it could be in your workplace, it could be in a religious circle, it could be in your church circle. If you've been called by God to be a leader, the first thing that you must take notice of is that you work on yourself before you work on others. We see that God had to work on Moses, had to take him to the wilderness, work on him for 40 years before he could lead the people of Israel to the promised land. So, my beloved friend, if you're listening today and you have been called to be a leader by God, remember that the process of becoming a leader starts when you begin to work in yourself before you start working on others. So I hope this word blesses you today, and that you may take this to heart and allow God to work in you.